With the 2021 winter season of anime winding down, I wanted to make a quick video to sort of summarize all the shows I've seen this season, with no spoilers. To be honest, I didn't watch anywhere close to all the shows that came out, because who the fuck would? All I know is that the vast majority of stuff I saw this season was some of the highest quality anime I've seen ever. Well, let's get this one over with. Horimiya is probably the least impressive. I don't even want to talk about this one. Like I don't know how this happened, but it did. Season 1 of The Promised Neverland had some of the most compelling 12 episodes of anime I've ever watched. It wasn't a masterpiece, but it consistently had me on the edge of my seat. It was well written suspense and mystery. And it just really appealed to me. Like I really enjoyed it. Like I would highly recommend season 1. But that's where my recommendation stops, because season 2, in my opinion, tramples on everything that season 1 was. I don't know how to explain it in the best way, but we just get introduced right off the bat in season 2 to a world we didn't want to exist. Like it wasn't what I was expecting, and unlike the pleasant surprise you sometimes get from getting something you weren't expecting, all I got was disappointment. I don't even know if I'm going to be able to watch all the episodes. I've only watched like 5 at this point, and I don't really care to watch anymore, to be honest. Okay, back to this. Horimiya is nowhere near as bad as The Promised Neverland Season 2. To be honest, it's not bad at all. But it's not good. The first couple episodes were extremely strong, and I was totally convinced that this was going to be the next huge romance anime, as it's also, apparently one of the most popular romance manga out there. But as the season went on, I realized that I didn't care about anything about the show. Like, it's not that I don't like romance shows. Like, Origairu and Bunny Girl Senpai are 2 of my favorite shows, period, and I even like the extremely low-key Fruits Basket. But in the case of Horimiya, it just ground to a halt. It came to a point where this show was at this consistent level of mediocrity, and there were no high points, there were no low points. It was just this flat line, and there's nothing more sad than that kind of show. I don't think there's anything inherently bad about Horimiya, but there's also nothing compelling about it. Like there's no reason to watch it. Don't get me wrong, the animation's great, the art style is great, and it's funny sometimes. But the relationships between the characters are so one-dimensional and uninteresting to me that I can't really call this a good show, especially since romance shows are pretty much entirely based on character relationships. Completing the Cloverworks trifecta of this season is Wonder Egg priority. However, unlike the last 2 Cloverworks shows I've just talked about, I think this one's fucking incredible. It's not often you get psychological horror anime, and it's even less often that you get one this unique. If there's any show that, for me, is worth talking about this season, it's Wonder Egg. I feel like Wonder Egg is sort of the dark horse of this season, and that's kind of sad, but I also don't really blame anyone for not watching it, because, it's only available on Funimation, and there are so many popular shows out right now that it's kind of hard to say, oh, why aren't you watching Wonder Egg? But I truly believe that Wonder Egg is something special. I haven't finished it as of yet, but every single episode so far has been an emotional roller coaster. And every single time that I think I have an idea as to what the story's about, I get proven so wrong, it's not even fun. It's a story that's really reflective of our world right now, with characters facing their trauma. They're doing it all for their own reasons, and all wondering if doing so is worth it, if facing their trauma is the right thing to do. And it's told in a way that's very unique and struck me as very powerful. Wonder Egg is a top contender for my favorite anime of Wonder 2021, and depending on how the last couple episodes go, I might have to make a full video on it. The first season of Quince was pretty good. The second? Yeah, it's a bit better. The animation definitely looks a lot more interesting. The character relationships are becoming increasingly more intriguing. Horomia, take notes. and it was pretty much everything that I expected. It's just a good show, and if you haven't watched season 1, it's about this really smart guy who's really antisocial and begins tutoring 5 quintuplets who, little by little, start to change him. Throughout these interactions, the relationships between the main guy and the quintuplets changes and deepens, and again, I feel that season 2 is delivering on that. I'm not too sure if there's going to be a season 3, because I haven't finished the season yet, and I don't know anything about manga, but it's definitely the best romance show I've watched this season. And it's also the only other romance show I've watched besides Horimiya. Well, unless you count... And please don't count ReZero as a romance show. ReZero Season 2 Part 2 is the second part of ReZero Season 2, meaning that it came after ReZero Season 2 Part 1. But ReZero Season 2 Part 1 was only called ReZero Season 2, meaning why is it called Season 2 Part 2? What is the new obsession with having Part 2s? It's actually just Season 3. Like, what's the difference? Would it be so detrimental to the series to move on to Season 3 without having a Part 2? Like, at this point, why isn't everything just Season 1 Part 2, Season 1 Part 3, Season 1 Part 5, Season 1 Part 17? Like, anyway, ReZero Season 2 Part 2 is really good. It's really up the bar compared to the last season, which I felt was really good but didn't deliver as heavily as Part 2 is doing right now. I've watched everything up until the last episode by this point, and every single episode has felt like a full-length movie. Can I just ask how White Fox got consistent 30-minute episodes? It's so rare for anime to be over 20 minutes, it was like a breath of fresh air for so much material to be covered in each and every episode that came out. ReZero always was one of the good isekais, and while a bit dramatic at times, its storytelling and premise always keep you on your toes and wanting more. There were times watching ReZero where I almost cried. There are times when I laughed. There are times when I was astounded and lost for words as to what I was watching. And I can't not mention the endings of the episodes. Like, the way each episode ended was every single time just pure serotonin. That goddamn song comes up as the episode's ending, and everything that's happening on screen is incredible. And I haven't watched many shows that have episodes that end as well as ReZero Season 2 Part 2s do. This is already up there as one of my favorite shonen, which is saying a lot as my favorite show period is Hunter x Hunter. Jujutsu Kaisen's first season was an absolute banger, and there's no other way to say it. I've seen a lot of dumb people on Twitter discrediting it, calling it generic shonen, and you know what? Yeah, it's a generic shonen, but sometimes you need to shut up and realize that not every show needs to be unique and completely original. Jujutsu Kaisen is not reinventing the wheel, but it wasn't really trying to. And while that wheel may not be something completely new, something completely original, it's the most fucking stacked wheel I've ever seen. This show is absolutely loaded with everything that makes shonen good, as once the show started getting into the real material of the series after introducing everything, every episode began feeling like 10 minutes. Time passed so fast watching Jujutsu Kaisen, it's just that fun to watch. I would sincerely argue that it's been the most hyped show this season. Mappa absolutely killed it with the animation and character designs. I mean, every single character looks badass, and every fight scene is like eye cocaine. Jujutsu Kaisen really caught my eye, and I see a lot of potential for this show going onwards. I can't wait for that movie that's coming out later this year, and I can't wait for the next season to be announced. Well, this is the one everyone's been waiting for, isn't it? Yeah, this is the show that's got everyone sucking its dick. You know, this is the show that everyone was hyped out of their minds for, myself included. And you know what? It's good. It's really good, in fact. But I can't help but mention that it wasn't what I was expecting. If you call this season bad, you're an idiot. But if you call this season a masterpiece, I'm gonna have to disagree. I'm all for building up suspense, I'm all for politics, I'm all for complexities in the plot, and waiting, teasing the audience until the next big thing happens. But for me, too much of the season was waiting around for the next big thing. I had this expectation going into the show that, holy shit, everything's gonna go down this season. It's called the final season, everything is gonna happen and it's gonna be amazing. That's what I thought going into this season of Attack on Titan, because Attack on Titan is at its peak when everything is happening at once. And for me, season 3 part 2 was the shining example of just how good Attack on Titan can be. And the last couple episodes of this past season delivered on that. Like, the last couple episodes of this season were fucking god tier. I enjoyed the last couple episodes a lot. Like, they reminded me of season 3 part 2, but the rest of the season was like, it was like season 2. There was just a lot of nothing happening. It felt like nothing was happening. I know stuff was happening, but it felt like nothing was happening. I did eventually accept the fact that not all the material was going to be covered in this season, because the manga was still serializing at the time that it started. But the expectation I had going in had already done its damage, and I just wasn't able to enjoy it as much. It was, though, by all means, a great show. Like, I don't really have too many complaints with it. It just was a bit slower than what I was expecting, and we just gotta wait for next season. And again, with the part two, why with the part 2? Really? With the part 2? Why? What is it about part 2?